And allowing pets to come to the rescue. That's the mission of an upstate nonprofit as part of National Pet Month, which is April. The Blood Connection is putting out the call for help when it comes to animal blood donations. And Fox Carolina's Myra Ruiz, she's live in Greenville with all the details. Myra.
Well, good morning. We are outside the Blood Connection's office, and they have kicked off a campaign called Be Positive. It's all about raising awareness about the need for blood from cats and dogs. And we caught up with a dog who's very familiar with the process. Her name is Rosie. She's 5 years old, and she is a regular donor at Vetch Specialty and Emergency Veterinary Services. Now, veterinarians say there are a variety of scenarios that might require a blood transfusion for an animal. That includes when one needs surgery or loses blood due to an accident. They might have a ruptured tumor or something else that's causing bleeding. Blood transfusions can also happen in cases of severe anemia and poisoning.
Blood's a very valuable commodity, and so we really appreciate our blood donors. The dogs and cats that donate, they're heroes.
We have heard of a couple of the animals that Rosie's donations have gone to help. The fact that, giving does help, it puts a warm spot in our hearts.
Dogs and cats must meet certain guidelines before donating blood, but the specifics can vary from one clinic or blood bank to the other. But in general, they have to be healthy, up to date with shots, and within certain age and weight guidelines. Now, the Blood Center is offering $30 in reward points for each human donation that takes place in the month of April. These rewards can be redeemed for a variety of gift cards, as you can see. Meantime, we're hearing that Rosie, the dog who is very familiar with donating, actually gets a toy from her owner whenever she donates. Reporting live in Greenville, Myra Ruiz, Fox Carolina News.